I'm with Trail Hero, and if you guys don't know who I am, I'm an avid off-roader who's literally traveled the world looking for the ultimate off-road experience. I'm currently out of St. George, Utah. Specialize in all things Sand Hollow, but I have wheeled in Japan, I've wheeled in Mexico, Canada, Spain, Germany, parts of South America, and then all over the U.S. And all in the idea of making sure that I experience the craziest things possible off-road. And my next trip is going to be in Iceland as well. So this is a really kind of hits to my heart. I want to know more about it myself. And as we kind of go through this journey with our panelists here, we've got Scott, Susie, Neil, Sarah, Brandon, Summer, and Ty. We're going to get a chance to see their viewpoint and what they experienced with IcelandX through the eyes of the panel, and find out from them really what drove this home and how they were able to enjoy their experience with IcelandX in Iceland. Thanks, guys.
Since the starting point and the ending point on any cycling journey is the same, it's all about the journey. What I try to do with most of my tours is really gonna live by that motto that it's an adventure, not a vacation. So you see a lot, you do a lot, we wish we would do more, but this is the ultimate amount of sites and activities you can pack into the days that we do. So this is not a 9 to 5 with a pleasant stop somewhere for a sit-down 2-hour lunch. This is pretty much go, go, go. This is an adventure to get absolutely the most possible out of the base to spend.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is your conductor speaking. Today we're going to be sharing a glimpse of the most amazing off-road adventure you can have in Iceland. What am I doing here? I'm not an off-roader. I drive a freaking minivan. I'll introduce myself. My name is Steve. I'm a filmmaker from Utah. That's me, in Iceland. That is our guide. His name is Vilmundur Birgit Pedersen. I hope I said that right. We called him GB. I haven't met very many Icelanders, but I'm pretty sure he's the coolest one. I traveled with a group of off-road enthusiasts to Iceland for a 9-day adventure around the country. We had 5 couples, and there was Ty and myself. He and I ran cameras, and we were in GB. So strap in, turn your headlights on, that's the law in Iceland, and here we go.
Let me say that slowly. Anyway, go and grab the lunch and then get out of here.
So, Stephen, what was an average day like on your Iceland trip? Thank you for asking. Let's turn on some catchy music and talk it over. Every hotel room had blackout curtains. The sun rose before 6. Breakfast, the roof. Load the vehicles. Drive. Stop. Air down the tires. Look. Listen. Take it all in. Drive. Rivers. Restrooms. Sheep. Dust. Horses. Tunnels. Bridges. Feeding horses. Fuel stops. Rest stops. Lunch stops. Walking. Photos. Videos. More photos. More videos. Drive.
Be prepared for long, exciting days.
It's amazing how much you can fit in a day with the right organization and the right group of people. Because it feels like you fit a month's worth of excitement into just a few days. And that's pretty amazing.
Just walking, looking, listening, wondering. Whales, trying to take it all in. Hoping this changes. Driving, airing up the tires, driving more. Dinner time. Sleep.
Isn't this freaking awesome? My favorite parts, the river crossings, are really cool. But the scenery, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And of course getting to play with big tires in Iceland. That's not bad.
There was only one person on this trip who was not a serious off-roader, and it was me. I own 2 cars, one of them is a minivan, and of the 2, it is the superior off-road vehicle. So when someone says,
We're going to go into the interior. So, Christian, you and river crossing.
I get excited and a little nervous. No matter how capable an off-road vehicle is, there's still something unnatural about driving across a river.
There are going to be some rough rocks. Okay.
No matter how good your vacation is, there's always that pull to think about normal life, what you left behind. To not really be where you are, because your mind is back at home or in the office. But when you're out here crossing rivers in Iceland, that is all there is. It's such a simple idea. You take moving water and add gravity. But there's no way to describe what it feels like to be next to this kind of power.
Thanks. Can you see me? I'm not blend in.
Waterfalls speak to my soul. You can't stop it. It's loud, it's wet, it is Mother Nature in a strong, powerful form, and it's beautiful and dangerous and yet amazing all at the same time. Thought of this trip at all as a destination. That's kind of what's great about it, is there is no destination. It's all about the journey. And it has, highs and lows like every other journey. That it takes effort to get to some of these places that makes it so special and unforgettable. If everyone could just, drive their car up to it and walk to it, everybody would.
We're at a waterfall in Iceland that I can't pronounce.
The Dettifoss
essentially means the falling waterfalls. And yeah, the joke is that it falls so hard you have to say it twice.
Of all the falling water we saw, one stands out. GB literally asked us to delete the GPS data from the photos out the window because this place doesn't even register tourist data. And since words don't do this justice, I'll just show myself.
Glaciers are really like extremely slow running rivers. So it's not a glacier unless it's actually moving. If it's just an ice, it's just ice.
You can't get much more off-road than a boat. Iceland is home to the largest glacier in Europe. Fun fact, the icebergs you see here have a lifespan of roughly 2 weeks. I mean, seriously, something that big melts in 2 weeks, and 90% of it is below the water. When NASA was preparing to go to the moon, they searched the world over for a place that could stand in on the lunar surface. Iceland. Now, obviously, I've never been to the moon, but since I've been to Iceland, I feel like I understand a little bit of what Buzz meant when he stepped off the lunar module ladder and uttered the words, magnificent desolation. North America and Europe share a tectonic plate boundary that is thousands of miles long. Right in the middle of that boundary is Iceland. North America is moving west and south at about 1 inch per year. Europe is also moving west and south, but not quite as fast. Iceland is what happens when 2 continents come together. Earthquakes, volcanoes, and lots and lots of lava. I kept expecting to see a couple of comets as we drove through. Razor-sharp rocks, tight turns, basalt roads, black, crusty lava, as far as the eye could see. across this alien landscape was the most transported I felt the entire trip. We left the whole world behind. I never felt more lost and found at the same time.
There is just some connection that you get that is deeper and richer than words. To me, Iceland helps me be more open to things that are possible to feel and impossible to see or describe.
Their trip, as seen through the eyes of Stephen Aldridge, the filmmaker that joined them. Guys, it's obviously a very awesome experience for everyone to be able to go on. Excuse me. Please join me with a round of applause. Our panel of guests here. We're going to bring up Scott, Susie, Neil, Sarah, Brandon, Summer, and Ty, all who you saw right there. So we're going to get questions going near the end of this. If you guys have questions, save them, because we will ask for your questions as well. So if we don't answer it, just kind of hold it in, and we'll get to you near the end. Okay, so Neil is at the end. He's got the mic. We're going to start there. One of the things that we've talked about in the past is maybe some of the touring stuff that you've done. And this is no ordinary experience. This is really not even an Iceland experience. This is specifically an IcelandX experience. They provide something that no other does. So, using your history, what was the experience that you had, and how does that translate to what others could maybe expect out of an IcelandX experience?
Holy smokes, there's so many ways I could go with that question, right? Okay, but what was the experience, right? The experience was that I had no idea what we were doing every day. All I had to do was be responsible for myself. No kids, no nothing. I woke up, I got my stuff in my bag, I got in the car, and I followed a leader, and we ended up seeing amazing stuff. I had no stress, I had no worries, I did no navigation, I didn't watch the clock. All I did was sit, drive, take pictures, take video, and have an amazing experience. Get fed a great dinner, and go to bed and do it again the next day. I mean, that, in a nutshell, that's how it went.
Sure. Now, sorry, Sarah, right? Okay. I'm still learning everyone's names here. So, you got to just experience it, but there's definitely a planning aspect as well, right? So maybe talk to me a little bit about the kind of pre-event planning or pre-trip planning, right? You maybe had like a video meet and greet. What was some of the things that you had to prepare for this kind of trip?
Okay, there was a video meet and greet. It was pretty basic, like things that we needed to pack, clothing.
Essentials, right?
Essentials, things we need to have. An itinerary was given.
Yep.
And some of us looked at the itinerary and planned ahead and knew what to look for and were excited. That's my personality, and I know some people who are like, I don't need to plan anything, so I can just show up, and it doesn't matter if I look at the itinerary or not.
How'd that work out for them?
I think fine.
Yeah.
I mean, we were taken care of regardless of how much of the itinerary we knew or not.
Great. And so next to you is Summer, right? Did you ever get a chance to figure out how to say the name of the waterfall you were sitting in front of?
No, never. I tried, and then I just ended up giving up. But Jamie's awesome at it.
Yeah, of course, right? Does anybody on the panel think that they could take a stab at any of the words from the Iceland trip?
I remember the name of one waterfall. It's Dentafoss. And the only way I remember it is it sounds like dental floss.
Well, water is Voss. And so a lot of the waterfalls are Skogafoss, Detifoss, Golfoss, Godifoss, yes.
Okay.
Cellulan Foss. Foss, water.
There we go. So, Summer, would you say, if we saw, I think it was maybe Neil coming out of the bathroom there, how was the bathrooms alongside the road? Did you get a chance to check those out?
Honestly, the one he came out of was probably the worst one. They were all fine. Like, great.
He just got the short end of the
Yeah.
stick.
Tiny bit. He had too much Diet Coke, so he couldn't hold it.
Oh.
Until the next best one.
Very good. Brandon, what, got some fans out there. How'd you feel about the food? And this is an open question for anybody, by the way, if you want to talk about the food.
Yeah, so the food was fantastic. That was one thing I didn't really think about beforehand. I was all about getting tires dirty in Iceland, but I remember the first day after we traveled all day, we were so exhausted, but we were hungry too. Actually, that was the first day of traveling. When Summer and I first got there, we ate at this really beautiful restaurant right there in what town?
Reykjavik.
Yes. And it was fantastic. So I'm thinking this is an off-road adventure. You know, where's the hamburger? Where's the barbecue? But in Iceland, not so much barbecue and hamburgers. But we sat down and lots of fish, lots of seafood. But I had the best seafood of my entire life right there that first night that we sat down. It is legit 5-star. Here's your food, and you don't want to touch it because it looks too pretty.
Never frozen, right?
No,
It's fresh caught.
amazing, super fresh. Summer's not a huge fish fan.
I hate fish, but I ate fish every night and loved it. Loved it.
What can you say? It was beyond expectation. It was 5-star every night.
Oh yeah, you got a chance to get lamb and maybe some of the other stuff as well, right?
Yeah, the lamb was amazing as well. Lamb and fish. If those are your two favorite things, you should live in Iceland. But it was fantastic.
Good. Now, Susie, how do you feel about, some accommodations? A lot of times when you're planning, you get a chance to check out hotels and check out bedrooms and make sure it fits what you need. And in this situation, this was a turnkey operation. You just showed up, arrived, and was there experiencing right off the bat. How'd you feel about the accommodations?
Oh, they were wonderful. I mean, you would have never expected that, but they were like 5-star places. 5-star places. And their beds were so soft. When you lay down at night, you don't need any sleeping pills, let me put it that way.
Got enough energy exerted throughout the day that you're done, huh?
Yep.
Good. Scott, if you looked at what it took in all the little details of your trip and everything you were able to experience, is there any way you can imagine trying to book this on your own?
Absolutely not. First off, you wouldn't know where to start. As a tourist, if you weren't a local, you'd have no way to start. To prep, we were on some of the Iceland Facebook pages and stuff, and just seeing the sheer number of questions that people were asking to try to plan their own vacations on their own, renting a car and traveling the ring road, and just trying to figure out where to go and what to do and what to see. And people were chiming in but it's so foreign and you don't really understand the language and the spelling. Trying to find these places on a map and map a route, there was a lot of confusion. And so being able to tap into somebody like GB who has grown up there, lived there, you know, and in one part of the video, he talked about how they took us to one of his little secret waterfalls that was just absolutely incredible. Nobody goes there.
Yeah.
You know, locals. It's a local, you know, the locals know of it. But,
Definitely not a tourist trap or like a pavement experience, right?
And the coolest thing about this trip is that we didn't miss anything. You know, we saw the things that all the tour companies take their people to. We saw the highlights of Iceland, but then we saw the secret places. We saw the little known places, the cool places, the pristine places that nobody goes to.
That's awesome. Now, Ty, as a cameraman, you got to experience it, but you also had to work, right?
Right.
So, I'm guessing your day started at the break of dawn, which is at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and ended at dusk, which is like 1 o'clock in the morning. So, how'd you feel? Were you tired? Were you reinvigorated at the end? What's up?
Yeah, and part of being able to be rejuvenated was the fact that everything was so well laid out. And the accommodations were amazing. So that really helped compared to some of the other
There's no stress, right? You just go do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool.
So it was great.
Now, I need to get the mic all the way back over to Neil.
Right.
Neil, I know food was a big deal for you. You definitely enjoyed the different foods. You mentioned lamb earlier. What were some of the other food that you got a chance to get?
So, and really that's kind of their staples, right? Like,
when I go traveling, I want to know about the food.
right, but you go to the western U.S., you're going to get steak, right? You go to the coast, you're going to get your seafood stuff over there. Like, lamb and fish is what they got. Like, that's what they grow over there.
Sure.
And not a fish person. The first night, like they said, it was like the best fish ever. I got it down just fine, and I thought, okay, I can take one for the team, I can do fish one night. I did it, and it was good. But then it was fish like every night. And so I started getting the lamb instead. And the lamb was actually kind of like steak. You know, sometimes you get a really good steak, sometimes it's not as good. But the lamb was always good. But there were some that were just like $50 steak good.
Oh yeah,
It was like super tender. It was great. And it was always picture perfect, you know, always a piece of art. Yeah, food was great. But there are people who are foodies and they travel for the food. Totally not me though. I was there for the sights and the nature and the waterfalls and that stuff was all like highlights for me.
sure, of course. I think it's all encompassing, especially with an expedition like this. You get a chance to really dive into what the locals do. You're not downtown eating at the burger joint like you would maybe in Reykjavik, if I pronounce that correctly. You know, getting a chance to get outside and really feel what the locals feel, experience what they do. It's pretty cool. Now, along your journey, there's a lot of little geologic formations and uniqueness about Iceland itself, and we talked about that on a personal level. Maybe add to that discussion here.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time in southern Utah doing some tour guiding, and the thing that really struck me about Iceland versus Utah is Utah, all of our stuff is like 150 to 300 million years old, right? But we have these deep, winding canyons that have been carved by rivers that are no longer there. But in Iceland, you have the rivers that are doing the carving, and in my mind, I could see the same canyon that I can see like in Canyonlands National Park. I could see it in Iceland, but the river was still there, like cutting it in the moment, and it was just cool. Like their geology there is so young compared to ours. They've got lava fields and volcanoes that have happened in recent memory that have changed entire valleys. Where there was like a giant lake or reservoir is now full of lava. Like the lake's gone, and that's just really young geology. They've got the lava as a base, and then they've got all the green that you see is like this thick. It's like a shag carpet. It's like thick moss, and it's what makes that green color. And it's so spongy and cool. We have nothing like that here. Like everything there is always wet and damp, so that stuff grows, and it's forming the basis of the soil and of future layers. Like we can look back in our geology and see all the layers. They're forming the layers. Ours are eroding. Theirs are depositing, and it's just cool.
That's really cool. A little off topic here, but Sarah's right next to you. What was your favorite stop? What was the thing that you went to and were like, this is why I'm in Iceland?
I can't really answer that question because every stop was amazing. I look at a picture and I'm like, oh, that was my favorite stop. And I see another picture and I'm like, that was my favorite waterfall. So really, it's all amazing. But if I had to choose, I would say waterfalls for me. I can't pick a favorite, but they're all amazing. And so it can't be beat.
So this is a question mainly from my wife. She wants to know if you happen to see Zac Efron there. I guess he had a TV show there or something. Maybe Summer? No?
No.
Did not see him? Sorry. I'd ask, I guess. So, Summer, what kind of animals did you see? What kind of wildlife? What was there? I mean, you see, maybe in the video there was horses. What else did you get?
Just horses, sheep. Susie should answer the horse question. She loved the horses, but they're just all over. They're like, and
Wild.
they're wild and they're amazing, and it's cool because they're all like from Iceland. Like if you take a horse from Iceland, it can never go back. So, like they're all from there.
Wow.
You know. So it's pretty cool, and I love to knit. That's a weird hobby I have, and so I loved all like the sheep, and then all the little stops. There was stuff they made off of Icelandic wool. Anyway, there's amazing wildlife all over.
Well, then, Susie, you want to tell us a little bit about the horses?
I kept asking GB, when are we going to see the horses? When are we going to see the horses? And we drive by horses all day long. So he's like, just wait. We have a place you can see the horses. And then yep. And there we were, and the horses came right up to us. It was fun.
So, Brandon, with kind of talking a little bit about what Summer added with all the little stops and things, is there like a place to get, I don't know, like locals, coats and knickknacks and things for family when you get back?
Yeah, most of the waterfall stops, the bigger waterfall sites, there were always little like gift shops and places to get hot cocoa and stuff. And we would definitely stop there, but we would go in and there were little trinkets you could get sometimes. Some of the stops along the way, we would get lunch in a certain like little tiny town. And so we were able to actually go in and live like the locals and eat where they eat, and they would have just cute little shops like we do here in Utah. Like if you go downtown, Bountiful on Main Street, you can find cute little shops. It was the same thing there, just a lot smaller. But yeah, we brought home a few souvenirs and some cool stuff, cool pictures, and some. They have all their animals there are Icelandic specific. They're very proud of their horses because they are horses from Iceland. Like they don't import other horses. They're Iceland specific horses, and their sheep too. It's Icelandic wool. It's very cheap, but so they're very proud of their sheep and their horses and stuff. So we brought home some salt and pepper shakers in the shape of sheep and stuff like that. But yeah, it was there's definitely cool stuff to bring home to the family back there.
Cool. Now, Scott, So when I Google and I start looking at my trip, and especially to Iceland, I see hundreds of people at these touristy waterfalls and stuff. But it looked like, there's nobody in these shots. It's got to be just local knowledge, timing, what magic. I'm not sure how you got such great footage, such a great experience without being inundated with people. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
So that goes back to the first question you asked me, could we pull that off without knowing what we were doing? And again, that ties into GB's knowledge and his expertise. Like I said, we didn't miss anything We saw all of the highlights, all of the tourist attractions. We saw everything that people travel to Iceland to see. We saw it before the tourists got there. So GB knew what to do and when to go, and so we got to experience these things virtually by ourselves, and we got to see everything. And then we were on the road to the next stop, and so he would do that. He would time the box checking ones that you have to see on your bucket list. He would time that, and then after that, he would take us to his secret spots that the tourists never go to. So we got to experience everything virtually as a private tour on our own, exclusively, and it was great. We loved the experience, and it was just magical.
And you can't really achieve that just by booking your own trip. You kind of need a GB just to
there's
make
no
that
way.
happen. Yeah.
Well, and people are used to, at the beginning of the video, GB's motto is it's not a vacation, it's an adventure. We were up early every day. We were in bed late. We didn't go to bed until 11 or midnight every night. It was so full. There was so much to see. There was so much to do. And so we were up really early. Most people are sleeping in, and so they're rolling up as we're rolling out because they didn't get up and get going like we did. We packed everything into a day. Every minute was full of some new discovery, which was incredible.
That's awesome. Now, Ty, one of the things I saw that you captured was the glaciers and the boat out to the glaciers. Tell me a little bit about that and just, how immense those things were. It's just amazing.
That's kind of fun story actually for me to tell. My previous assignment for video work was in the Middle East. And
so without glaciers.
Yeah. No glaciers, lots of camels, lots of sand, and lots of people that wanted to hurt you. And so when I got this call, hey, let's do Iceland. You want to do it? Yeah, absolutely, I want to do this. But in the back of my mind, all I had is my previous experience to go on. So one of the things on the itinerary was you're going to take Zodiacs and you're going to go out into an ocean bay, visit glaciers. And just the worst possible images were in my head. I could see this half-flat Zodiac, just leaking air, a guy with a tire pump trying to keep it afloat. And in reality, the experience was really incredible, super professional. No one ever for a second felt like they were in any sort of danger. Yeah, we had a fantastic guide. Our Zodiac driver was incredible, did a great job. But it's something that, especially coming from Utah, to have the opportunity to experience that and to experience it close. That's one of the things that impressed me with this tour is you have the ability to be right there. There's very few fences. There's very few. There might be a small sign that says, "Hey, don't go beyond this point." There's no one there telling you not to. So it's very open, and the personalness of that experience is incredible. So yeah, the glaciers were fantastic because we could pull right up next to them, pull a piece out of the water. It was super cool.
That's cool. Did you lick one? I think I saw a video of Neil licking one.
There was a little bit of that happened. Yeah.
All right. So a question for Neil. In Iceland or anywhere, especially coming from the desert, water is life, and without water in the desert, we know we're gone. But here, water is plentiful. Tell us a little bit about your experience with the water and the fact that you can just drink it.
Okay, yeah. So there was them just drinking of the Iceland water, and you fill your bottle up, and it's totally pure. You can drink it. That's cool.
Right out of the river.
Yeah, and I think some of us did that, and that was awesome.
Out of the car window.
Out of the car window.
River crossing.
Oh, that's right.
Fill it up.
I did do that. While we're crossing the river, I did do that.
Me too.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. But let me tell you what I really liked about all the rivers. What I liked about the rivers was the bridges. When I travel, I think I travel with a bit of I call it a redneck perspective, where I kind of look at things that a lot of people don't. In Iceland, all their bridges are
all their bridges in the rural areas are pretty chintzy, honestly. And I was asking GB about that. I'm like, why are these bridges kind of feel kind of rickety, right? Because you'll be on this 2-lane road, and all of a sudden you hit this bridge, and there's a lot of them, because there's a lot of water going out to the ocean, and it would go down to a single lane instead of from 2 lanes to be down to a single lane. And in their driving culture, it's just whoever's there first gets to go, and everyone behind them. It's not in every other. You don't stop. Like, you just keep flying. You just kind of have to guess that the other person's behind you, which is kind of fun. But I found out the reason that their bridges are also chintzy is because if they have like a major volcanic activity that melts the glacier, they can get these icebergs coming down these rivers that take out their bridges. So one, they make them cheap in case they don't get there in time, and two, they make them so they can take them down while the iceberg goes by, and then they put them back up. Which I think that kind of thing in travel and culture is pretty cool. Like, it's just nothing we would think about here, to have a bridge you can put up and take back down in case an iceberg comes floating by. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. We just overbuild things.
Right.
Yeah. So, Sarah, or maybe I think I heard this right yesterday. You guys got a chance to maybe even see the Northern Lights, and you're there in what time of year?
This was in August, the end of August into September. Yes, Neil and I saw the Northern Lights. It was, I think, only once. It was our first night there, and it was late, and we're super jet lagged. So I think it was like 1 in the morning or something, and we're like in bed. And I had followed an Iceland group on Facebook, and there I got a notification that the Northern Lights were out. So I looked out the window and, I think there's a Northern Lights, let's go. So we went out and freezing cold in this parking lot and just saw the Northern Lights. It was amazing and just so different. That's not something that we experience here. It's not normal everyday life. And it was really, really quite breathtaking and quite amazing. And we didn't wake anybody else up because it was the first night, and so we thought we would see them again, but we never did. Sorry, guys. But it really was amazing.
Awesome. Well, next question's for everyone on the panel, but we'll start with Summer. Did you hear that IcelandX recently added zip lining, whitewater rafting, and cliff jumping? And would you do any of that stuff?
I do all of that.
Yeah?
Totally. Yeah.
Obviously, your husband he's in.
He's in. That's why I love him, because he keeps it adventurous and fun. But yeah, I mean, anyone that goes on these kind of tours, I think, has to be down for a little bit of adventure. So yeah, totally.
Everyone else, would you do like the?
I did not hear that, but yes, I would do some of that.
So one of the things that we missed just because of the time of year was GB offers winter tours. So in Iceland during the summer, they're very strict about not driving off the road. Even in the very uninhabited highlands and the areas of the lava fields, because erosion is such a serious thing. They have so much water that erosion becomes a very big issue. So in the wintertime, though, they get feet of snow, and that's where all our vehicles had the small summer tires. So, the Gladiator had 40-inch tires, but in the wintertime, they're running 46 and 50-inch tires, and they can drive anywhere on top of the snow.
Wow.
And so he's got a tour that takes you up in the highlands in the wintertime to a very secluded oasis with the hot springs. And then they can do some heli-skiing and things like that. So he's got tours for every time of year and every activity level. And we want to plan a winter tour.
I was just going to ask, you guys plan on going back to the winter tour?
Yeah, Brandon and I were just talking about that the other day. He was like, have you thought about doing that? And I'm like, yes.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that really attracts me to Iceland is ice, right? But with all the geothermic activity there, you don't realize that it's also incredibly green. But I think that winter trip is something to be desired, Now, Brandon, as an off-roader, what do you think of the vehicles? You kind of mentioned a little bit of it, but these are just like kind of different builds than what we see here in the U.S.
Yeah, different and the same too. Most of those vehicles have their central tire inflation systems So they air up their tires and air them down. Most all of their off-road vehicles you see with the big Icelandic balloon tires, but they're made mostly for the snow, but also for the river crossings, because there's some deep rivers in there and you need to get your rig above up and out of the water. But as far as like driving the Jeeps and stuff, like it was pretty much the same as here. Like it wasn't any more difficult to get in a rig and drive the trails like that. But as far as the vehicles were concerned, they were super comfortable, super capable. The Gladiator was my favorite one to drive.
Cool.
Sure.
Susie, you got a chance to experience this, but this is the IcelandX experience, right? And you know that every other Iceland experience isn't quite like this, but amongst the group, what do you think was the most popular activity that you guys had while you're out there?
Wow. I don't know if I can tell everybody what the most popular activity was. The waterfalls were great. But I have to say, the first day we got there, it was otherworldly. It was awe-inspiring. It was so green. It was on swivel, left to right, because it was amazing just to get out there and see that.
Sure. Well, we've got roughly 10 more minutes. I want to make sure you guys get a chance to kind of put out there what you really wanted out of this. So maybe real quick, we'll touch on each one of you and tell a little bit about your experience that we haven't heard so far. So let's start with Ty.
So, one of the things, I feel the most important thing that I got out of this didn't really happen until I got home. When you first start to experience Iceland, it's so incredible and it's so different than anything else that you've ever seen. You get this feeling that you don't have anything like it. So there was kind of 3 stages that I went through. I went through this is the most incredible thing I've seen. And then there was a stage where I really wish I had something like this at home. And then there was a stage when I got home of realizing as I'm driving, I would shoot that. I would shoot that. That's a highlight moment right there. And I realized no matter where you're going to have things like that. You probably just take them for granted.
Yeah. That's a good point. Now, Scott, what's one of those moments you need to hear about your experience?
A couple of things, just to touch on what Ty said, I had a very similar perspective that Ty had, where Iceland is just so incredibly beautiful and amazing. But that was one of the things I took home with me, was a better appreciation for the scenery that we have here at home. Because I realized that the people there in Iceland, they're so used to their scenery. We're walking around with our mouths open just going, that's amazing. And for them, it's every day. They wake up and they see that every day, so it's normal. And I had that thought that here in Utah, we have very similar scenery that's just incredible, awe-inspiring. People come from all over the world to Utah to see what we have too. So I have because of Iceland, I have a better appreciation of what I have here. And to touch on what Susie said, that first day where we hiked through a river canyon and we went into this, I guess the only way to describe it is like a rock chamber where a waterfall had cut a hole through the rock. And so you have this halo of light coming down with this waterfall and mist is everywhere. And you're experiencing the elemental forces of creation. And that moment really set the stage for the whole rest of the trip for me.
I really like the way you put that. Elemental forces of creation. That's pretty cool. Susie, what do you have to add?
I just want to add, I am not the most sporty person in the world. And if you think you have to be, you don't. Most of these places you can see with just a short walk. GB has all these little secret places where he says, go down right here, and then you can see it. So it was amazing, and I think everybody could pretty much do it and enjoy it.
I think that's important. You know, it's I think the importance of motorized access to the outdoors, like without GB's help, you know, you're not. First of all, you're not going to see the area without the built vehicles. You're surely not going to see the area, and it kind of gives us an appreciation, and then that local knowledge of going, hey, just over this ridge, go check that out. That's eye-opening.
So I've thought about this a little bit. It was the best vacation I've ever been on, and I got connected with this group of people, and they're like, let's go to Iceland, and I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. But it wasn't like my dream destination. I wasn't an Iceland person. It was my favorite place I've ever been. So for all you guys, I wanted to do this. Who here has been to Hawaii? Raise your hand. Yeah, okay. Who here has been to Iceland besides the people that went to Iceland with us? Raise your hand. Nobody. You guys are here because you are adventurers. This is an off-road expo. This isn't a like, get in your jazzy and let's go down the boulevard expo. You guys have adventure in your blood. Your next trip, your next destination needs to be in Iceland. You'll never forget it. It changes your life. And GB's the guy to take you.
Very
That's
well
awesome.
said. I get to follow that. What do I want to add? I am not a world traveler. I love Utah. Put me on a boat at Lake Powell or out in the desert with my kids and their dirt bikes, and I'm super happy. So I probably never would have liked Iceland, but it was amazing. And like these guys said, just kind of life-changing, and it kind of gave me that like bug for travel now, where I'm like, I think I do want to see more places. Like I think there is more. Utah's amazing, and if you never get to go anywhere else, I think you're super lucky for living here. But it kind of did make me want to see the world.
Now, in the video, Steven said it really well, and he said he never felt more lost and found at the same time. And that's how Iceland made me feel. And Iceland's the farthest away from home I've ever been. And when you're looking at a globe, not just a map, but a globe, and like the curvature, like how far you have to curve around the planet, and suddenly you're like, wow, I am really, really far, far away from home. It does something to you. It changes you in a better way. And Iceland was the greatest adventure that I've ever experienced. And I will say, a lot of praise has been said about GB, and he is a true Icelandic treasure, and a Viking at his core, and you'll come away with some of the most amazing stories, and a great love for Iceland.
All right, so we check out this picture right here. I'm so glad this is here. These are called basalt columns. This was my favorite thing in Iceland, and they're all over the place. And I'm no geologist, but here's what I understand. When lava comes into an area where it's got maybe a lot of water or ice, and the lava cools equally from the bottom and the top, and it cools, it actually contracts, and it makes these typically a five-sided pillar vertically, and then other lava will come in 4 more layers on top of it. These basalt columns to me were the coolest thing, because I've never seen anything like it, and it was so geometric for being nature caused. Almost always in my, I'd like to tell, 5-sided. They used some of that on one of their big buildings in downtown Reykjavik. They cut them and used them almost like brick or stonework on the outside of this big building. It was so cool. The picture that was up here was actually taken at night. We didn't get to where we needed to be on time, but I'm like, this is top like 5 places for me was this black sand beach with the basalt column sticking out of it. So we went at night, the wind was blowing like crazy, but I made her stand there and look at the rocks, and we turned the flashlight on, and we took that picture on a black sand beach in the dark, and it was It was a really, really cool experience. There's another black sand beach called Diamond Beach, where as the icebergs calve off of the glacier and make their way out to the ocean, they get pushed back up by the waves onto the beach, and then they turn clear and they look like diamonds on black sand. And that was another like main destination for me that was just awesome. That I could have spent 2 more hours there just taking pictures.
That sounds amazing. So I want to open up to the questions here in the audience, if there are any. We're going to kind of pass around the mic for whoever feels that they are best suited to answer the question. Do we have any questions from the audience? What do you got?
Tell me about the hot water.
Who wants to answer about the hot water?
I'll take it because I think it's super cool. They don't have to make any of their water hot there. They have no water heaters as far as I can tell, because all the water in the ground is already hot. So they just plummet into the building and they use it for their heating. Like they have heated floors, heated towel racks, and hot tap water. And the tap water is a little bit more sulfury because it's straight, whereas the cold water is more filtered and purified. It goes through their system, but the hot water is just hot. That's how it is. It's super cool.
Any other questions? Nothing? We covered everything you guys wanted to know? Randy? Oh, clothing. We heard yesterday that there may have been some issues with different types of clothing and what to expect. What should we wear?
Just comfy, waterproof. I went and got myself a nice pair of like waterproof kind of boots. They weren't really hiking boots, more like comfy, I don't know. But I think footwear. You have to have waterproof footwear.
I heard somebody bought water resistant and needed waterproof.
Well, there's levels. I learned the hard way. I bought waterproof. What was said was waterproof, and I learned that first day that there are now levels of waterproofness. I don't even know if that's the right way to say it, but my waterproof coat was soaked through, and so I went into Icewear, one of their local stores, and they laughed when I showed them what I had, and they said, that's waterproof, but it's not Iceland waterproof. This is what you need. And so, Eddie Bauer waterproof is great for maybe the Pacific Northwest. It's not great for Iceland.
Yeah. Eddie Bauer doesn't have anything on Iceland.
No.
Any other questions out there? Did you guys have glacier ice cocktails?
So after our Zodiac tour, we took some ice from the water. So any ice that's from a glacier is now an iceberg, and we took a big chunk of it back to the hotel and put it in our drinks that night and had glacier ice. It's pure water, so it's great.
Just to add to that, one of the interesting things that we learned about that is if you get ice from, you put ice in your cup and ice floats. Well, ice from a glacier will sink because it's been compressed and all of the oxygen has been pushed out of it. So the ice from the glacier, you drop in your glass and it sinks to the bottom, which I thought was kind of cool. But the other thing is that is pure water from thousands of years ago.
Also, if that was the only night we had ice in our drinks, because if you want ice water there, they look at you like you are psycho. Like, no, room temperature water only for drinking.
Good to know. Does that wrap up any other questions? Oh, you have another. Okay. Were there any warm waterfalls on your trips?
No, the waterfalls are cold, but they're everywhere. And I love a waterfall, and I was expecting to see maybe 2 or 3 cool waterfalls. Literally look out your window anywhere, just waterfalls coming down from all the mountains. It'll blow your mind.
Did you need towels on the ride? Did it dry off?
We probably needed them, but we didn't have them.
So they say that Iceland has over 10,000 waterfalls, and we joke that we probably saw 9,500 of the waterfalls, but they were great. And I know the Zac Efron show that you're talking about, he went nowhere cool like we did. Yeah. Yeah.
So the question was, did you guys cook bread in rocks?
We didn't cook it, but we ate it. And
You ate it.
was super good. Yeah.
So they basically the ground is hot enough to where they could cook bread in the ground. It's insane.
Yeah.
That was we saw that on the TV show.
Yeah, they just dig a hole and put it in a pot, put it in there. A couple hours later, you get bread. Sorry, yeah, they dig a hole in the beach and put it in a pot, seal it all up, and bury it. A couple hours later, they uncover it, and they've got bread.
All right, is that? Are you done? Okay. Any other questions? What's the best month to go there? I think it depends on what kind of adventure you're looking for, right? But what would you guys think is the best month?
It depends on what you want. If you want the northern lights, it's going to be wintertime. If you want the best, most temperate weather, then I think when we did it is about right. But the right people to ask are right behind you. GB, July is best. But this is GB and Ivy, in case you haven't seen them. These are the guys you want to talk to right there. Wave your hands. These guys right there. They're the ones that set this up for us. And I'm just going to finish this up by telling you one thing. GB was our guide, but Ivy was our backup. She was, every time, she can watch our location by following GB's phone, and she could tell we were like an hour or two behind schedule. So she would call and push dinner back for us without us even knowing that it was happening.
So incredibly convenient.
It was some pretty cool backup support. So you don't get that when you're traveling with just you and your family.
No, they cut things out. I said, if you're with a regular tour group and you're running behind schedule, they cut things out. GB made sure that we never lost anything. They didn't cut anything out. They would push dinner back, or they would make other arrangements, or sometimes you're in a place where once they close, they're closed and there's nothing to eat. So he would encourage us to hurry up a little bit, but he'd make sure that we had a chance to get what we wanted.
It was the equivalent of small town Utah with nothing else to do. Like once the restaurant's closed, it's closed. So.
We didn't make things easy on GB because of the filming side. Stephen and I probably 5 times every 10 minutes, hey, can we stop? Can we film this? Can we do this? GB was very accommodating, but because of the filming schedule, there was a lot of other arrangements that had to be made, and it was amazing to see that. I was able to ride with GB the extent of that trip in the vehicle to ask about filming spots as we were coming up on them. And the behind the scenes work that nobody will see or know about was incredible. There was a lot of communication going on between the two of them, and scheduling, making sure that things run as smoothly as possible. It was really impressive.
Yeah, and just to add to that, the reason to have a guide is because they can plan everything, but also it's like going to the gym and like riding the bike by yourself versus like going to a class with an instructor. Like he will push you to go see everything where you would be like, if you were there, just with your spouse, you'd be like, I'm tired, like we're done. He's like, And then you get to where you're at and you're so glad you went there. So I think that's one reason why you need a guide to help you get to everything.
Well, and having that local knowledge, being able to time it, right, and miss the hordes of people and eat from a certain, hut in the middle of nowhere or whatever, you can't get that with your tour bus full of 70, 80 people. You just can't move. You're not light enough. You guys were lean and mean, and you guys moved across the interior and got a lot done. All right, well, looks like our time's wrapped up, guys. Thank you for tuning in or listening to us. We've got some Facebook Live stuff coming in as well, but we really appreciate it. If you guys can give us a round of applause to our panel here, and specifically to Ivy and GB, an amazing adventure. It's not just Iceland, it's IcelandX. Guys, thank you for sitting in, and we've got more coming up here shortly.